Hi everyone, this is Margaret and a genial welcome to you to my YouTube channel Grammar Buzz Learning Made Easy. Well, in today's video, we are going to learn about active voice and passive voice. What is the structure of them, how to identify them, how to differentiate between the two, and when to use each of them. This video is going to be the basic building block for active and passive voice. But before we move on to the main part of the lesson, you know what? Let us quickly get to know about the lesson objectives. Well, the lesson objectives aims at helping us to know what is active voice, know what is passive voice, know how to form them, and know how to identify them in a sentence. Now, let us begin from the very beginning, and that is, what is voice? Well, what about it? What is voice? In a general sense, we are familiar with the generic term voice. But today, we are not talking about the voice that we hear or the voice that sings. Today, we are talking about voice in English grammar. In English grammar, there are 8 parts of speech. One of the most important and common part is the verb. When we say verb, we know that we are talking about an action. But further, verbs can have different properties that function differently. Voice is one of them. Voice is a verb form that tells us the relationship between the action and the performer. Voice is that form of a verb that helps us to understand whether a verb is the doer or the receiver of the action. In traditional grammar, voice is the quality of a verb that indicates whether its subject acts or is acted upon. So remember, voice is that form of a verb that helps us to understand whether a verb is the doer of an action or the receiver of the action. Well, you see, voices are of 2 types: active voice and passive voice. So now let us try to understand each of them one at a time. But before we do that, there is something for us to know. And here is the something for you just to know. Just so you know. How do we find the subject of a sentence? How? Well, that's a big question. How do we find the subject of a sentence? And we really need to know the subject of a sentence in order to identify active and passive voice. Well, we can easily find the subject of a sentence by finding or spotting the verb in a sentence first and then questioning the verb who or what. Remember, first spot the verb and then ask the question who or what to find the subject. Well, now let us understand this with the help of an example. Take the example, Sammy broke the bottle. Sammy broke the bottle. Well, can you spot the verb in this sentence? Can you? You are right. It is broke. Now, in order to find the subject of the sentence, we just need to ask the question to the verb who or what. Well, in this case, it will be who. We cannot say what broke the bottle. So, who broke the bottle? And voila! What is the answer that we get? It is Sammy. Sammy broke the bottle. So, Sammy is the subject of the sentence. Wasn't that easy? I'm sure it was. Well, now that you could ask me the question, what is active and passive voice? there is nothing for us to rush through. So let us understand them one at a time. What is an active voice? What about it? Well, to put it simply, an active voice means that a sentence has a subject that acts upon its verb. A sentence has a subject that acts upon its verb. In an active voice, the subject performs the action and the object of the sentence receives the action. Remember that. Active voice means that a sentence has a subject that acts upon its verb and the subject performs the action and the object receives the action. So remember, in active voice, the subject is the doer of the action or verb and the object is the receiver of the action or the verb. Simple, right? Well, it is. Well, we will try to understand this with the help of an example. And our example sentence is, monkeys adore bananas. Monkeys adore bananas. They really do. Can you spot the subject in this sentence? Who is the performer of the action or who is performing the action? You are right. It is monkeys. Monkeys is the subject. And what is the action or the verb performed by the monkey? It is adore. And who or what is at the receiving end? Well, it is bananas. So bananas is the object of the sentence that receives the action of adores performed by the monkeys. As we already know that in active voice, the subject is the doer of the action and the object is the receiver of the action. And we notice that in this sentence, the subject, which is the monkeys, are the doer of the action and the object, that is bananas, is the receiver of the action. In this case, adores. Hence, this sentence is said to be in the active voice. Well, let us take another example into consideration. And our sentence says, the cashier counted the money. The cashier counted the money. What or who is the subject in this sentence? Well, it is the cashier. The cashier is the doer of the verb or action. The cashier is performing the action. And what is the action or the verb performed by the cashier? It is counted. And who or what is receiving the action? Well, it is the money. So, the money is the object of the sentence that is receiving the action of counting, performed by the subject cashier. So, in this sentence too, the subject cashier performs the action of counting on the object money. Therefore, this sentence is said to be in the active voice. Now, let us try to understand the structure of active voice, and that's important. The structure of active voice. What is the structure of active voice sentence? Well, it is quite simple. It is just the subject plus the verb and plus the object. Note, the two sentences that we just did in our example have the basic active voice construction or structure, that is subject, verb and then the object. It's important for you to remember this structure properly. Well, now I guess you have followed what is active voice. So let us move on with passive voice. Since we already know what is active voice, it is important for us to know what is passive voice. So, what is passive voice? What about it? To simplify, passive voice means that a subject is a recipient or receiver of a verb's action. In this sentence, the subject interchanges their position with the objects. Unlike active voice, where the object receives the action, in passive voice, just the opposite happens. That is, the subject becomes the receiver of the action. The passive voice is used to show interest in the person or object that experiences an action rather than the person or object that performs the action. Passive voice is used when the focus is on the action. It is not important or not known, however, who or what is performing the action. So remember, in passive voice, the order is reversed. So what does that mean? Well, now let us understand this with the help of same examples which were considered earlier. Let us take this example. Monkeys adore bananas. In this sentence, the subject monkeys are doing the action. Adores is the action word and bananas is the object of the sentence that receives the action of adores. The sentence structure is subject plus verb plus object. So this sentence is said to be in the active voice. Now note this sentence. Bananas are adored by monkeys. Bananas are adored by monkeys. In this sentence, the object bananas takes the place of the subject monkeys. The verb are adored is followed by the preposition by and then the subject monkeys. Now, if we ask what are adored, we get the answer bananas. And who adores the bananas? It is the monkeys. So here, bananas are the object and the receiver of the action are adored and the monkey is the doer of the action. Note, here the focus is on the action. So the sentence is in passive voice. Also, you will note the verb form. What is it? It is are adored. So are is the auxiliary be verb and adored is the past participle of the base verb adore. So we use the verb to be plus past participle form of the verb while forming the verb in the passive voice. Hence, the verb form also tells us that the sentence is in the passive voice. So remember, for passive voice, the sentence always follows the structure of the object, the verb, plus by and then the subject. Remember, in passive voice, we use the third form of verb. Also note, both the sentences, monkeys adore bananas and bananas are adored by monkeys are similar in meaning. Now let us take the next example. The cashier counted the money. In this sentence, the subject cashier is doing the action. Counted is the action word and money is the object of the sentence that receives the action of counting. The sentence structure is subject plus verb plus object. So this sentence too is said to be an active voice. Now let us try to convert the same sentence into passive voice. And we have, the money was counted by the cashier. The money was counted by the cashier. In the passive sentence, we already know that the object takes the place of the subject. So the money will replace the cashier. After the object, we have the verb. Hence, we have was counted. Note the verb form. What is it? It is was counted. Was is the auxiliary be verb and counted is the past participle of the base verb count. Next, the verb was counted is followed by the preposition by, and finally we have the subject taking the place of the object. So we have the cashier. So the entire sentence is like this. The object plus the verb plus by plus subject. That is, the money, which is the object, plus the verb, which is was counted, plus the preposition by, plus the subject, which in this case is the cashier. Remember, in passive voice, we use the third form of verb. Also note both the sentences. The cashier counted the money and the money is counted by the cashier are similar in meaning. Well, here comes our first remember. Always remember this. Don't forget. Let us consider the example, the food was cooked by the chef. This is a sentence in passive voice. Note what is the verb form. The verb form is was cooked. So we have the auxiliary, be verb and then the past participle of the verb cook. So first we have a be verb or the helping verb which takes a suitable tense and then it is followed by the past participle form of the base verb. In this case, our base verb is cook and the past participle form of it is cooked. So remember, in passive voice, we always have the be auxiliary verb or the helping verb which takes a suitable tense and then it is followed by the past participle form of the base verb. Isn't that easy to remember? Well, sure it is. Here comes our next remember. And that is, sometimes in passive voice, the doer or the performer of the action is omitted. We already know that passive voice is used when the focus is on the action and not on the person or thing performing the action. In some cases, it is not important or not known, however, who or what is performing the action, like in this sentence. The piano was played. The piano was played. In this example, the focus is on the fact that the piano was played. We do not know, however, who did it. The doer or the performer of the action is not important or not known. So, this sentence is also said to be in passive voice. Remember, sometimes in passive voice, the doer or the performer of the action is simply omitted because the focus is not on who performs the action but rather on what action is being performed. So, that's important, the structure of passive voice. So what is the structure of passive voice? You must be knowing that by now. It is the reverse form of active voice, and that is object plus the verb plus by plus the subject. Note, in the passive voice, it is important for you to remember this structure properly. So remember, the passive voice always requires the object followed by the auxiliary be verb, and in the passive voice, we generally use the preposition by after the verb and then mention the subject or the doer. And in certain cases, the doer can be omitted. So, here comes a fun fact about active and passive voice. We have already learned about transitive and intransitive verb in a previous video. If you have not yet gone through it, then I would request you to go through it first. The link is also provided in the description box. Well, we already know that a transitive verb requires an object to express a complete thought because it transfers the action of the subject onto the object. And the fun fact about active and passive voice is that only sentences with transitive verbs can have both active and passive form. Only sentences with transitive verbs can have both active and passive forms. Intransitive verbs do not have objects, and thus sentences with intransitive verbs do not have passive forms. Now, isn't that fun? So once you get to know your transitive and intransitive verb, it will be a lot more easier to understand active and passive voice. Now, that's what I call interconnections, don't you? Well, let us now try to identify the voices of verbs. And our sentence is, Jacob plays the guitar. Jacob plays the guitar. In this sentence, what do we see? Our verb is plays. Who plays the guitar? Jacob plays the guitar. So Jacob is the subject of the sentence. Is Jacob performing the action of playing the guitar? Well, yes. Jacob is the doer of the verb plays. What is Jacob playing? The guitar. So the guitar is the object of the sentence. Guitar is the receiver of the action plays. Now, what is the structure of the sentence? It is subject, which is Jacob, verb, which is plays, the object, which in this case is the guitar. So, this sentence is said to be an active voice. Note, in this sentence, the focus is on the subject, Jacob, who is playing the guitar. Now, what about this example? The fruits and vegetables were bought by her. The fruits and vegetables were bought by her. So, what is the verb here? Surely it is were bought. If we ask what was bought, we get the answer the fruits and vegetables. Well, who has bought the fruits and vegetables? It is her. So in this sentence, the fruits and vegetables are the object and the receiver of the action, and her is the doer of the action. Here fruits and vegetables are receiver of the action, were bought by her. So the sentence is in the passive voice. Also note the verb form. What is it? It is were bought. So were is the auxiliary be verb and bought is the past participle of the base verb by. So we have the form be plus past participle. Hence the verb form also tells us that the sentence is in the passive voice. Note, in this sentence, the focus is on the object, the fruit and vegetables, which is receiving the action of being bought. Now, what about this sentence? The castle in the amusement park was built last year. The castle in the amusement park was built last year. So what is the verb here? Surely it is was built. If we ask what was built, we get the answer the castle. So in this sentence, the castle is the object and the receiver of the action of being built. In this example, the focus is on the fact that the castle was built. We do not know, however, who did it or who built it. The doer or the performer of the action is not important or not known to us. So this sentence is also said to be in passive voice, where the subject is omitted. Also note the verb form. What is it? It is was built. So was is the auxiliary be verb and built is the past participle of the verb built. So we have the form be plus past participle. Hence the verb form also tells us that the sentence is in the passive voice. Hey. Now that takes us to our practice time. Great. We have reached our practice time. Do you know what do we have to do? Well, I will be giving you a sentence and you will just have to identify the voice of the sentence. Isn't that easy? Surely it is. I bet it is. So let's get started. Are we ready? Are we? I think we are. So here comes our first sentence, and that is Thomas feeds his dog. Thomas feeds his dog. Well, what about this sentence? What is the voice of this sentence? Take a look at the sentence, spot the verb, figure out the subject, and you will be spot on. So, have you already identified the voice of the sentence? I think you have, and you are right. It is active voice. Yes, the sentence is said to be an active voice. Here comes our next sentence, and that is, the letter was written by Marshall. The letter was written by Marshall. What about this sentence? Hey, be careful. Take a look at the sentence structure and also the verb form. Yes, I think you have already drawn the answer, and you are so very right. It is passive voice. Yes, the sentence is said to be in passive voice. Good job. And here comes in a third sentence, and that is, the fire was extinguished. The fire was extinguished. This again. Try to spot the subject. Can you find any subject? What about the structure of the sentence? Hey, what do you think? What about it? Have you spotted the answer? I guess you have, and you are so right again. It is passive voice. The sentence is in passive voice. Here comes in our next test sentence, and that is, the dolphins have learnt many tricks. The dolphins have learnt many tricks. Okay, try and see what is the sentence focusing on. Is it the doer of the action or on the action? Can you find the subject? Look at the structure of the sentence. And you are so very right. I think you have already spotted the answer. And that is, the sentence is in active voice. Good job. And with that, we move on with our next sentence. And that is, the house will be built by the construction crew in 5 months. The house will be built by the construction crew in 5 months. What about this one? What do you think? What kind of a sentence is this? Is it in active voice? Is it in passive voice? Look out for the sentence structure and the verb form. Yes, you are right again, and the sentence is in passive voice. And here comes our next sentence, and that is, the girl performed the dance beautifully. The girl performed the dance beautifully. What about this one? Who is the performer of the action? And on whom is the action getting transmitted? Yes. Try to figure out. I think you have already figured out the answer, and you are right. It is active voice. The sentence is an active voice, and that brings us to our last sentence, and that is, the car was cleaned by its owner. The car was cleaned by its owner. What about this one? What do you have to say? What kind of a sentence is this? Is it a passive voice sentence? Is it an active voice sentence? What is it? Well, you're right again. The sentence is in passive voice. Hey, that was a real great job that you did. Hope you enjoyed this video. And this video helped you understand what is active and passive voice and all that you wanted to know and needed to know about active and passive voice. If you have any questions at all, you know what to do. Just pop them in the comment box and I will surely get back to you. Thanks for watching the video and staying with me. Hey, don't forget to like, comment, share, press the bell icon and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. So this is Margaret signing off for today. Take care everyone and bye.